even though I don't think I'm going to have a beer, I literally Hoover vacuum all the stuff as much as I possibly can the minute I start.
All right, so you're on your how you got 5 people working on
5
that?
or 6.
Yeah. How'd you get this? Like, how did that come about?
Well, for 25 years I ran every skateboard event in Washington, like aside from a few that I missed involuntarily. But then I retired during the pandemic. But I told Tony at 35th North, who's one of my closest friends, I said, if you have any events, like I'll still do it. I'll still do 1 or 2 for you. And when he said that we're gonna do a half pipe at the Mariner game, and my dad being a lifelong Mariner fan, I was like, I gotta do it just so I can get the jersey and the board for my dad. I have to. My dad has to see his kid skating at the Mariner game.
Come on, man.
I'll do whatever it takes.
I'll do whatever. That's incredible, man. Well, I mean, that story needs to be told on wax. And so, hey, Marshall, my name is Pete. This is Rudy. We are part of Sober Champs podcast. And how you doing today, Marshall? Welcome, man. Welcome to episode something. I don't even know. What do you think we're on? Like
maybe 8 or 9?
9 or something. Yep. Man, we've been waiting to get you on here. We've talked about you since the inception of this podcast to try to get you on the microphone to see, if you'd even be interested. And I remember running into you at the Magnolia meeting and just checking your curiosity. And I mean, dude, you were excited for it. And I don't know, man. Sometimes we've had a little bit of ups and downs on feelings of how this is working and what this podcast is really doing. But when I ran into you that night, there was just this confirmation of like, okay, it may not be like, I mean, you didn't have anything negative to say about it. And so the exciting part too was that you were just willing to participate. And so we're so glad that you came and you're spending your time here today. I know time is very valuable. And I just wanted to say thank you and welcome to the podcast, man. Yeah, so.
Yeah, welcome, Marshall. Happy to have you here. It's kind of cool. We were just talking. We have a family connection, and we have some other friends in common just outside of recovery circles. And I just known you for a while. You probably don't remember the very first time I met you. It was actually at Imperial Lanes at the old bowling alley, and I remember I was bowling there with some of our friends, but you were with a different group, and you were sober, at the time, and I was not. And I remember you came over and people were telling me like, yeah, Marshall, he doesn't drink and stuff like that. And I was just like, wait, what? Like, I was like, it didn't even comprehend in my mind like what that even meant. Like, I thought maybe that meant like you never drank ever or something. It didn't even comprehend in my mind that this was somebody that used to drink and then doesn't drink anymore. And you guys were over on another lane getting pictures of Pepsi and like just kind of like kicking it. And you guys were having a good time, but it was really interesting. And ever since then, I just was always kind of fascinated by you and because the whole time I've known you, you've been sober the entire time. So that's pretty cool for me.
Yeah, the first time, so my assignment was this. Seth had told me to go to a meeting and find Marshall. I had never seen you, heard, I didn't know of you, and he was like, all right. He was trying to test my willingness. So I go down to this meeting, and I can't find you. You weren't there that night. So then the first time we meet was when there's a certain, like, hall closing on, it was Union Street, I think. It was like the last meeting they were having at this meeting. It was right behind Uncle Ike's. Do you remember this? Like, it was like a house. Yeah, and like this house. And man, dude, the excitement you had for life. And like, I was just like, man, okay. Like, I don't know. It was this proud, you were proud to be there. And I just hadn't ran into that really. And so when I met you, I was like, man, I really like, I want to follow this guy around. Like, what is it? What does he do? And so, man, we finally got you here to like kind of tell us like, what do you do and what have you done? So, man, we usually start off with a sober date. Man, do you have a sober date?
Yeah, April 3rd, 2011.
April 3rd, 2011. Okay. All right.
And I think I used to go bowling on those Wednesdays
Yep.
up until April 3rd, 2011. And I actually remember that time I was there sober bowling.
And yeah, man, sober. I mean, so the interesting thing about us is that we got sober and then COVID hit. So like that entertainment and the socialization and the fellowship outside of a meeting, it was kind of hard to find for a while. And so it's something that we've craved. All right, so man, you got sober. What to take us through a little bit of like, man, like maybe what your first drink was like, what your first drug, if you remember, or what age you were, or take us through some sort of story.
Well, I remember like drinking and smoking weed before I remember anything, and I remember parties before I remember anything. I was just raised in it, in the art galleries and music venues in Pioneer Square from like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. But I don't think I drank alcoholically till I was about 10. Okay. And, but yeah, I don't really remember anything other than parties and people getting loaded. But the first time I actually remember finding joy was also here in Pioneer Square when I started skateboarding. And that was at 10 years old. So skateboarding was the first joy at 10 years old. Right around the same time, getting drunk was also pretty awesome. Getting stoned was something that I'd always turn into a zombie, be like, I wish I didn't get stoned, but every opportunity I got to get stoned, I got stoned. It was,
right.
You know what that's like.
Yeah, that shit's crazy, isn't it? Like, you're like, fuck, man, I'm like moving all slow. Yeah. Next time I'm not doing this. I move to, and then
I feel you. I smoke so much weed for somebody that doesn't really like weed.
Yeah, that's your story. You were like, oh, I didn't really like it, but I smoked it there all the time. Yeah. So you're a Seattleite, huh?
Yeah.
I think we have 3 Seattleites at the table. Hey, Manny, where are you from, man? What's going on, man? Oh, we got 4 Seattleites in the building, man.
Yeah,
that's a hard thing to come by. So being a Seattleite and being raised in that environment, was it a pretty functional environment at home, or like, do you have brothers, sisters? What kind of stuff did you have going on when you were a kid?
Well, let's just say I never ate at a dinner table until I was like 30.
Okay, let's go.
My parents had me when they were 19. And it wasn't like, and they were divorced by the time they were like 24. And I don't think that, like, my mom wasn't trying to have dinner at the dinner table, but she'd make dinner and we'd eat it on a couch. And my dad was like, he's one of the top 100 most influential Seattleites or something like that. So he was busy 24/7. He had the art galleries and the music venues and the band management, and so I just kind of was just running behind him the whole entire time. Yeah. So my upbringing was different.
Yeah. So let's tap into that skateboarding. At 10, how'd you get introduced to the skateboard itself? Do you remember that moment that you were like, "Yo, this is what I'm gonna do"?
Well, this band Agent Orange, which is a skate punk band, they were playing at the Metropolis down here in Pioneer Square, and they were loading out the band the next day. And my cousin and I, they had their skateboards there, and my cousin and I were kneeboarding around, and then we managed to stand on the boards and roll down the back of the stage when we were 10. And then my dad was already skateboarding with his friends, and so I instantly just got a skateboard and started skateboarding.
Wow. Was skateboarding kind of a newer, like, how new was skateboarding? Was skateboarding something that had been going on around here for a long time, or were you kind of a new kind of breed of individual in the Seattle area, or was that something that had been going on for a while?
Well, that was 83. So skateboarding had a little boom in the late 70s. From 83 to 85, it wasn't really popping, but then we all know that Tony Hawk era from like 86, 87, 88. 88, it was huge. And So I was 10. Everybody else was 15 to 25. So I was just like the youngest kid.
Yeah.
Running around with adults, doing adult things. But what was crazy is, no, I was invisible and skateboarding wasn't hot. And I would smoke pot with the adults and get drunk when I could. But I remember in 1988, the school, I graduated from Garfield, but my mom lived in Everett, so I went to elementary in Everett. And I remember one day the preppies and the jocks invited me to their table because skateboarding became cool all of a sudden. Like Police Academy came out, and they had skateboarding in it. And then I started getting to go to the jock prep parties.
Yeah. So then, with that invite, was there a big change in your personality and your behavior at that point?
Yeah, I thought I was cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I went from like maybe not even knowing what feeling cool felt like to being like, ooh, I'm cool.
Yeah.
I'm the cool kid now.
That's pretty crazy, man.
Yeah, I never skated, but like I hung out with a lot of skateboarders that are friends of ours and stuff like that, like skateboarders, graffiti artists, and stuff like that. But I didn't do either of those. But I was like, I just wanted to kick it with them because like they were having the most fun, and it was always a party and stuff like that. But like my dad told me this story that you might have heard, I don't know, like so basically he had an art gallery one time, and he had a show in a gallery. And there was a punk show at his show, and this might have been your dad who put this on or something. And he said it was here in Pioneer Square, and outside, because our dads are friends.
Yeah.
And outside there was a punk show inside, but then outside there was a skateboard show, and they had lit like a big bonfire, and they were like skating like over this bonfire. And he said it was just like the wildest thing, and it was like a punk, rock kind of thing. And but that was like before my time. Like I never really experienced that whole like kind of punk scene and stuff like that. But I am born and raised in Seattle, but like, and I've been around a lot of skateboarders and stuff like that, and got loaded with a lot of skaters.
Yeah, that was the JFA Youth Brigade show, and it was a riot, and it was like in the Thrasher magazine, and it was all time. And I was 12 and definitely drunk.
Okay.
But not out of hand drunk. Just I used to have this trick where I don't even think I drank water till I was 40. But when I was a little kid, everybody had a beer in their hand. I'd walk around and go, "I'm so thirsty. There's nothing to drink here. Can I have a sip of your beer?" And if you get 20 adults to give you a sip of their beer, they're just giving a kid a sip of their beer. You can get drunk.
Right. That's pretty.
But that was a legendary time in the history of Seattle. The JFA Youth Brigade.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, the club got shut down. My dad got arrested.
Oh, shit.
It was like headline news. But then the bands played the next day at Ground Zero, a little club around the corner.
Okay.
So everybody got their money's worth. Their $3 ticket to the show or whatever.
Oh, that's dope.
Yeah.
So were you off the porch pretty early? Like it sounds like you're out late at night. Just,
I was feral.
Yeah. So when did you start drinking and doing a little bit of this and a little bit of that on like, and maybe seeing some consequences, like some things that it wasn't as fun anymore?
I got arrested in my underwear when I was 14 for stealing liquor out of some girl's cabinet down the street. And then I remember being so pissed that they snitched, but that didn't really count. But by 19, I got arrested for just being a jackass. And so I would say by 19, 20, I started like getting into trouble and thinking like it's those people or it's that booze or it's tequila or, I'm one of those people that's never drank too much. I've never drank enough, but I've gotten out of hand many, many times. It's a weird thing. Like I just never could drink enough. Like the guy who's scared that there's not going to be enough booze. That started by like 20.
Yeah. And so when you got arrested, so how did skateboarding and being drunk work, or like high and like, I've understood that you're pretty good, right? And so then with using, how was your mentality of athleticism at that point? Like, did you think that you were better loaded?
No, it was So I did all right, and I got the trophies, and I would do the contest circuits and stuff like that. But then the party started getting more exciting than the contest, and like literally by like 91, by 91, I would only care about traveling up down the West Coast so I could do the party. That people were hyped to see me because I could party. So that's the thing. Like, if you can party with skateboarders, we love you. Yeah. I don't care if you don't skate.
Yeah.
If you can drink, we're in. If you brought some extra stuff, we're even more in. What they call extracurricular stuff, we're in.
Yeah, see, I'm a non-skater myself, but that was what I noticed. It's like we could get together on some other shit that was not skating. Yeah, that's dope. All right, so 19, man, take a couple consequences. Like what take us through a couple stories after or 19. I mean, I'm interested kind of in that 14-year-old one where you like got arrested in your underwear for stealing alcohol. How do you get arrested? What?
They came to my house at like 11 o'clock on a Sunday. And my mom was like, there's no way he would do that. He's on a skateboard team. He's, he practices, and she was just oblivious. But I wasn't like, I would only drink when I could, not like, so, occasionally, like every couple weeks or every,
whenever it was available.
Whenever it was available.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until like literally after I graduated high school and could be out on my own and that I could get drunk more and more and more. And pretty soon, but yeah, from age 14 to like 19, I didn't really get in trouble, and I did my homework, and I would drink I could drink one night a week, Friday or Saturday, because my dad wouldn't let me. He was like, you have to get good grades in school. So I would have to stay home one night and do homework, and I could party on Friday or Saturday and stay the night at a friend's house. And so I didn't really have a chance to get addicted.
Yeah.
But every time I smoked weed, I regretted it. But I'd smoke weed every chance I get, and not every time I drank did I regret it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then, but I was like, man, if I just didn't like get so wasted that I was so hungover the next day, I could have won that, or I could have done so. I started realizing what the ominous warning that like, if I didn't get wasted, I could have done better.
Yeah.
and then I lost a job. By the time I was like 19, and I worked at a ski wear warehouse, which was cool. I still work in the ski wear industry, kind of, but I remember like they just kind of let me go. And I remember thinking like deep down, like, man, if you just like would wait until Friday to get drunk, you could, because we don't plan to call in sick to work when we take a sip of alcohol.
Yeah.
And then, calling in sick on Wednesdays and then calling sick on Thursday because I just thought I'd have a beer on Tuesday. Even though I don't think I'm going to have a beer, I literally Hoover vacuum all the stuff as much as I possibly can the minute I start.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I'm curious. Like, did you know any sober people growing up? Because like when I met you, it was like, I mean, I was active use and everything, but it was like, it was just fascinating to me that this is like a sober person. Like, did you meet anyone like in your journey growing up?
Yeah. By the time I was like 30.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I remember. I had a couple friends, and I looked up to him. My friend Anthony, he's an amazing human, and I used to flow him skateboards for my skateboard company, but I was like, you've never had a drink in your entire life. Wow, that's gangster.
Yeah.
And I've got a few friends like that where they're just, I just never did. And you don't really notice those, though. I didn't notice. Well, some of my friends, they'd hang out the whole time. They'd just never touch anything. But, yeah, so I did know a few. And then I had another friend, we all know him, but he was sober in 1993. I offered him a beer and a 40. He was like, oh, no, not me. And then I remember thinking he was crazy because he would run around with us and not drink, but he was like in recovery.
Right.
And he went back out because you can't really run around with that crowd for too long.
Yeah.
The barbershop mentality, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Yeah, there's like people that were hanging out with us too that were like, you said they never had it. We were calling them like straight edge.
Yeah.
Was that a thing, or am I making that up in my mind that like people that had never taken a drop of alcohol, like they were called straight edge?
Yeah, there's different kinds of straight edge. There's straight edge, like people that claim it, like hardcore straight edge people that don't drink or drug. And I got my one friend, he's never in his entire life done anything. But there's also people that, like, today I wouldn't call them straight edge because it's not like a lifestyle for them to not drink or do drugs. They just don't drink or do drugs. So, you know, I used to think squares were whack.
Oh, for sure. I
And
think we
after
all
I
have
get
that in common. Yeah.
sober for a few years, I'm like, man, they had it figured out.
Yeah.
Wake up in the morning, have some water and stretch, go for a jog, you know, like wear some slippers or something, you know, like I used to think those
Make their
people-
bed.
Yeah,
make their
yeah.
bed
Oh,
and
I'm
like,
into
do
making
some
my
dishes.
bed. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Very
that's
into
the
it. You guys
best.
make your bed?
Oh yeah,
Oh
absolutely.
yeah,
Every day.
every day,
Yeah.
every day. My wife gets annoyed. Like she's like, "Dude, come on, man." Like, I get it. Every once in a while I tempt her with like her trying to do it, leaving the bed undone, and then finally I'm like, "Never mind." And then but anyway, so did you ever? So you said you were going up and down the West Coast and skating. So skating seemed to be a very big part of your life.
Big.
Was that something that you did almost every day?
Yeah, as much as possible.
Yeah. So then, at what point did you fly the coop and just say, "Look, I'm out," and you left the home and you were like, "I'm gonna just roam and get an apartment, live on wherever, do your thing."
18, me and my friend moved to where there was a half pipe in Auburn so that we could skate every day. And also I could like drink freely and party like a rock star. And the manager of that building said, if you move out, we'll give you good rental history. And
So they wanted you out.
yeah, that was where it started. So that was 1992. We called it the FUBAR year. And we'd make tapes of us getting fucked up beyond all recognition. And we actually would make VHS tapes of
Like
doing
Steve-O.
stupid shit. Yeah, Steve-O in 92.
Yeah.
And
First Steve-O's, right.
and my skating just dissipated, my traveling. By 92, it was, you know, but I was still kind of making moves, you know, like I would show up to all the skate events and sometimes I could pull it together. And I was like, but so 94 to 96, I was smoked, fried. So I was going uphill. We opened a skate park in Seattle, the first one at the end of 93, beginning in 94. Got the skate park open, and that's when I started like it was drink every night. Started dabbling in the powders, trying to be a drug dealer, even though like it's pretty much impossible when you're a drug fiend, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So by then I was like trying to be something I'm not. And that skate movie mid 90s came out that recently. What's that kid's name? Jonah Hill. He made the mid 90s. Like I just don't remember the mid 90s. The only thing I really remember from the mid 90s is sitting in jail and seeing OJ driving in the white Bronco while I was sitting in jail. I remember that. And I remember like a dude came in, we were watching like Crime Stoppers, and like this dude robbed a bank or something on Crime Stoppers, and he came into our jail cell and he was like a celebrity.
Yeah, you're like, whoa.
Yeah.
This guy
And then literally 95, 96, I was so gone that like I accomplished zero. But January 1997, I decided to really give it an honest shot at getting sober, or what I thought was an honest shot of like, I can't do any of it. It wasn't so much that I thought I was an alcoholic, but my parents thought I was a complete loser. I was useless, and I thought if I just quit drinking, then I'll stop doing all that other stupid stuff. I'll stop doing, like, you know, you take a drink, you want a line. And so I quit drinking and started going to Atheist Agnostic AA. January 1997, and really pulled my life back out of the gutter. And what those guys did, it was cool. I went every Tuesday and Saturday for a couple years, never did any work other than I was the secretary, but I would actually smoke weed most of the time, but they didn't care. And honestly, like, my life improved dramatically
right.
that time.
Yeah.
Dramatic. I was able, then I started putting together some game. Like, I felt like I was going to, like, show everybody that I'm not a complete loser. So I got really heavily back into skating, got into the production end of it, ramp building, skateboard contest producer, skate team manager, board company owner, like just built a life.
Yeah. And how many parks have you built, do you think, in your career?
Just all the indoor ones that we've had in the Seattle Northwest area. So there was Seaskate, and then I actually worked at the Bellevue Skate Park and did a couple remodels there. And then Skate Barn, Rain City Skate Park was our big one though. It was down here on Royal Brougham. And then I actually didn't build Interspace in 2003. They built it, but then I helped with remodels, and then I rebuilt that as the current skate park I work at. So, like anything, I've kind of been involved in everything skateboard production around Seattle, but there's not like been a million skate parks. But
Yeah. Have you traveled to make skate parks?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just doing one last month in Salt Lake.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's not a thing it's something that I love. Like even like yesterday, I was like, this never gets old, and the homie's like, it never gets old. Like making that perfect transition on a ramp and like getting to try it.
Yeah.
But it's not it takes a toll on your body.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's dope. You were just telling us before we started rolling that you're doing one at T-Mobile Park.
Yeah.
For the Mariners, they having like a skate. What do they call it? Skate day or something?
Yeah. It's so we're gonna have a half pipe there, and then we're gonna be giving free skateboard lessons the whole entire game. And then during the 7th inning, there's going to be a skateboard demonstration on the ramp.
Wow.
And to the first 1,000 people, you get like a board. And yeah, I just like really wanted to be involved in that, because then I'd be like, wow, like who would have ever thought when I got on a skateboard in 1983 that they'd be having a ramp at the Mariner game in 2023?
And you would have built the ramp.
Yeah.
And you would have been participating in it and skating on it, and that's see, these are the moments that I like. When you say who would have ever thought, right? These who would have ever thought moments. And so when you were in that time period of you couldn't remember, there had to did you get sat down into jail, and then you were like, all right, I gotta put this together. Like, meaning, was it jail that sat you down to get you to that point, or was there a moment that you remember?
So I'm a big proponent of like maybe people need to be isolated from their addiction for a period of time. But every time I went to jail would be like, as soon as I got out, which I went like 10 times. One time I stayed for like, a couple times I stayed for like 3 or 4 days. It was always just for stupid shit. So no felonies, just like, but I always just thought I needed to change something. Like, and then get out, and then, but it wasn't going to jail. It was literally, having my mom was like, you're just a drug addicted loser. And my dad was like, you're not even my son.
Yeah.
That was like, and I'm like, damn, that's harsh. And that's harsh. And then, so I was like, well, I'm going to figure this out somehow.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then you built all this stuff. You had built this life, and you had, and that's not your sober date. 93 you said?
No,
97?
that was January 97.
Right, 97. And so then take us through like how it all, like, or whatever happened. Like what ended up happening?
Well, so I went like 5 months, and then I decided to start smoking weed again, but I don't just smoke a little weed. I instantly just 24/7 around the clock. And then I went to the weed house, and the homie that I hadn't seen in years, like, just pulls out the crack pipe. And I'm like, okay. And then the thing about me is, like, I believe in a spiritual universe that, like, when you do something, there's always a consequence. So, like, I'm like, well, I know, like, something bad's going to happen when I do this. And, like, whatever, I was like, a project went to shit, and then I beat myself up over that. And then, but, then I would go like 3 or 4 months where I would just smoke weed again. And then somebody pulls out some Valium pills. And then I had arrived. Then I had a girlfriend that was prescribed Ritalin. And I realized that if I take Ritalin, I can build ramps faster. Like, I can do everything so much better on Ritalin. Even though, like, the truth is I don't do it better. And I was, just lying to myself, and I was inconstitutionally incapable of being honest with myself. And then slowly, like it was just a constant tug of war of like, I shouldn't do that, but I'm doing it. And I bartended in Pioneer Square for like a decade, and I bartended all over Seattle for 15 years. And it's just like every time I would say, okay, I'm going to stop doing that. I'm going to stop taking like Percocets. And then the homie would come into the bar and be like, dude, I just got 30 Percocets. I was going to unload them on you. You know, like it was impossible to quit while working in the bar industry.
Yeah.
And then my life kept going downhill, slowly chipping away, and to the point where I finally just decided to start drinking again, which was the best, worst idea I ever had. And then it only took a few more years for my life to crash to the point where, and that was like 2006 to like 2011. But yeah, just slowly to where like I used to get called for everything skateboarding related everywhere by everyone, and I could be like, yeah, I'll charge this much, and like always had something to do, always having fun, always being involved in the cool stuff, to like nobody's calling me for anything. And me being like, I used to be able to do that.
The story, I used to's.
I used to be a legend.
Sitting there high as a kite.
Yeah, he was like, you used to.
High,
And then you can't even run with that anymore. You know what I mean? Like some people still do, but like, run. Oh yeah, this guy, he does this, he does that. It's like thinking like, I don't even do that anymore. Like I hadn't built a ramp in a couple years. I hadn't done any cool skateboard tricks, or I haven't like done anything like real positive other than hang out with a rough crowd. And just I was useless.
Yeah, I feel you. I felt like that with golf, like, cause I was an excellent golfer, like in like my early 20s, and I was like rising real fast and stuff, and like people were saying I could have went pro and this and that, but then like my mid 20s was just like kind of what you're saying, like with the mid 90s, it was just like I don't even remember much of like my mid 20s, so like, and it was just like. Whew,
yeah.
And it was one of those things where like people would call me to like, man, are you playing in tournaments? Are you did? And I would just be all fucked up, like, nah, I don't even fucking golf anymore.
Yeah,
like, that kind of stuff.
Did you skate through your active addiction, or were you kind of just like fuck that? Like, was there
the second round? Yes. So for the mid 90s, I don't even know what I did from like 95 and 96. I don't know. Like, I don't think I carried a skateboard. It was my identity. From up until 2011, yes, because I had this thing where it was like, if I have a perfect combo, you know, like if I have the perfect combo, like a Percocet and a half a Xan, and then maybe a partial, you know, if I can just put it together with a half a Coors can, like if you can get this right balance, and you know, I always had to just. It was 7 or 8 years of just trying to get that perfect balance of what exactly I needed. And also I used to clean, like, because I didn't know, I've listened to all the podcasts you guys did too, but you know very well how sick you get. So I was on the Oxys from 2002. I was smoking them in 09, 08, you know, but I never knew that you got sick when you stop. So like I would like run through 20 of them, and then just be sick for like 4 days and not know it was because I just thought I caught a cold and had the flu. And then like a week would go by where I didn't do any hard stuff, but I would just smoke weed.
right?
And then I'd get my health up and I'd have a good day of skating, and then I would go find any hard drugs I could. So I never, and I used to be like, well, you know, I'm not a crackhead because I only smoke crack occasionally. I'm not a tweaker because I only do tweak when I feel like it. And I'm not, you know, definitely Pill Clinton though, no matter what.
Yeah.
Like anything. You could dog dewormer. I remember.
What?
I know, this is crazy.
All right.
Well, no. Well, yeah.
Dog
the one,
dewormer?
Dude gave me a bottle of pills, and like I took them all, and then went on the book, and like at some point found out it was just like dog dewormer. Or one time I had this girlfriend and she was on Paxil, and I think that's like some kind of antidepressant. And I remember I ate them all. And she was fit to be tied. She was just like, she dumped me shortly after. But the pills just wouldn't change me. So the cool thing is later, I figured I figured out what pills to take. Like I wouldn't just take anything. But, you know, I knew what to take, but it's a miserable life looking back on it.
Yeah, when you were you ever homeless?
No.
Ooh, yeah. So were you a couch surfer, or were you kind of had an apartment, maybe kind of?
In that mid to late 90s part, I was, if it weren't for my mom or my dad, like at that one point where my dad was like, "You're not even my son anymore. You get the fuck out of here." Like that was when I was like, "Well, I'm going." So I could go party or couch surf for like 3 weeks at a time and come home and chill for 4 days and then go back out. So if it weren't for parents, then yes, of course I would have been homeless, I'm sure.
Yep.
But most of the time I was able to pull off like not being, I have a feeling if I went back out, I'd be at those tents folded over like a little for sale sign, you know, sandwich board looking at the ground instantly and then be dead. Like, I know that y'all are the same with that. Like, we'd be dead quick.
It is not for the faint of heart. Yeah, we had Huxley in here a couple weeks ago, and she was just talking about fentanyl.
Yeah.
And her addiction to fentanyl, and like I've never knowingly took fentanyl.
Yeah.
Rudy the same, and yeah. Had you ever heard of fentanyl?
Yeah, I was smoking fentanyl for like years.
Okay.
Yeah. But we were smoking the pharmaceutical fentanyl that was melted down to like 1%. And I know I listened to your podcast too, but the thing about you is you're going to just snort a bump that's going to kill you.
Yeah.
Because it's going to have that stuff in it.
Right.
And I know about you because you said, well, I'm going to take this pill anyway.
I'm going to take her anyway kind of guy. How'd you get your pills? Just anyway, anyhow?
No, my dude is dead now. He just died. And I wanted to make amends to him. So I always was worried about what people thought about me, and I always was worried about my image, even though I'd be driving around in a bucket with a broken window with my dude, Froje, R.I.P. in the car. And I only would hang out with him because he was my dealer. I pretty much had one main dude for like 10 years. And I only used him for drugs. And when I got clean, he's the one who said, so in 2011, I was like, man, I'm going to get help. He's like, man, be careful, bro, because you're going to get addicted to the meetings, and that's almost just as bad.
No, I heard that same thing from like the homies too. They're going to get in your head. And
they did. I'm happy. Yeah. I'm so happy
to that shit.
And I always wanted to make amends to him, to be like, you know, I was using you for drugs because I wouldn't talk to you for 3 weeks at a time, or, you know, like a month at a time. But towards the end, it was every day. Like, I would pick him up at 9 in.the.morning, take him to the methadone clinic, then get my gram, and then call him back later for the half gram. And that was of the black, just smoking black tar heroin. And then the fentanyl came, and we did that up until 2011. So I would say like my first fentanyl experiences were probably around 2008. 2007, 2008, but by the time I knew it was consistent, that was when they made the oxys more difficult to smoke. Well, that was around 2010. Whatever. It was just a blur of chasing dope, a feeling that I don't miss.
Yeah. Was there any precarious situations you were in that you can recall that were just like, well, this is fucked up? Like, this is just not where I'm supposed to be in life. And like, I don't know, I had a scenario where I was getting these pills from this one guy. He was like, Pete, we're going to go over here and get them from this dude. But you got to give me one. I said, okay, no problem. Now, little did anybody know I was using them, but I was just trying to pretend like I was selling them. So he was like, cool, whatever. So we go out here. I don't even know where we were. We were at this like AM, PM, I don't even know. And we get in this car of this other dude. So now we get out the car, we get in the car, and he's like, the guy I'm with, he's like, man, can you sell me half a pill to the drug dealer? And I was like, bro, shut the fuck up. Like, nobody sells half a fucking pill. And the dude was like, what? He was like, I don't do that shit. What the fuck, you crack? And he was just like, ha ha. So all of a sudden I get the dope. And I hadn't had it for like a day or two. And my stomach started rumbling. And we get back to this AM PM, and I'm like, man, I'll be right back. And I go into this AM PM, I'm like, oh man. And the restroom is broken. And I was like, oh shit. And I'll never forget, like, I shit myself. Yeah, outside of that AM PM in my drawers. And I remember shitting myself, taking off, like in front of, like just taking off my shorts, taking the underwear, throwing the underwear, wiping my ass with them, throwing the underwear, putting the shorts back on and being like, let's roll, like, let's go. And so, like, there was these moments, though, that were like, what the fuck am I doing? And so do you have any of those moments?
Well, I have 1,000 of them.
Yeah.
Some I probably wouldn't want to have public, but I mean, I remember one time just going up into the homie's crib because I used to buy pills and coke. So this was a different homie. They were friends with the one that just passed, and this dude happens to be like 14 years clean and sober now. But I would go in there and after work and like see the girl holding the baby but smoking the meth bulb, and me just being like, wow, that kid is fucked. But I'm here. And then I remember like going up into like an apartment on Capitol Hill with that dude to get like some black, and all the people were scattered like rats, and the floor was covered with needles. And me just like, I'm supposed to be like cool, you know, like I'm supposed to have a rep of somebody that built something, and I'm like, this is not where I'm supposed to be. But also like, I mean, I could tell you the craziest stories you could possibly imagine. I've had pistols put to my head on multiple occasions, and where I was like, this is gonna make a good story.
That was your thought process?
Yeah,
at that moment?
One time, I used to work at J&M Cafe, and our dishwasher, crackhead Chris, and he was super cool, but he was a crackhead. And he could only give him the money $10 every 45 minutes, and he would go outside and get a crack rock, and then
because you couldn't give him like 50.
Right, because but he would tell you this. He was a functional crackhead, and his name was Crackhead Chris. He wore it proudly, but I went with Crackhead Chris one night, you know, a couple of different times we go out, but one night we got wax. He's all, damn it, it's wax. Like, we got jacked.
Well, fake.
Yeah, fake crack.
Yeah, okay.
And I was like, fuck, well... And I was like, do you think? And he's like, no. Like, he would even be like, I give up. I'm not going to, you know, keep trying.
He would quit.
And I smoked the $60 worth of wax.
Yeah.
Because I thought, well, they got it. Like,
it's got to be something.
Something.
Right.
You got to do
yeah,
something.
They couldn't have just gave me nothing. Right.
There was, a million stories where it was like, holy shit, I can't. I would go down to the jungle over in Belltown, and one time I met a dude, and like I was like, I got money, you know, like if it was payday and I had $800, like let's get some crack. And I watched the dude turn into it. He started balking at me like a chicken. He was and then the other homie was like, he thinks it's fake, and I was like, but he's. And then the dude would balk like a chicken, and his eyes would bug out, and then he'd start chilling after a second, and he'd be like, let me get another hit. And I was like, because the shit was not fake. We were geeking. But yeah, the dude, every time he took a crack hit down in Belltown, he'd turn into a chicken and start balking like this. And I've seen two people do that 2 different times in my life. In the mid-'90s and in the mid-2000s, I saw human men take hits of crack and start balking like a chicken with the wings and everything.
Yeah. Was there any behaviors that you noticed that you were exhibiting? Like, did you? Yeah.
Well, the people that do, when you see everybody bent over organizing, I used to do that in the apartment.
Yeah.
I just didn't do that outside. But I know what they're doing. Like, I just was doing that inside. And I even had this friend, like, I go, you don't want to smoke crack with me. I actually sponsor her boyfriend right now. It's funny. Small world. circle, but I go, I like, and then I would smoke and be like, okay, and like everything looks like crack on the ground, and she's like, because she smokes crack like a normal person, like just hits it and trips out or whatever. You know what I mean? Like the one homie you guys interviewed that would like, smoke crack and shoot dice, like nothing. You know what I mean?
It's the vibe.
Yeah. Me, I been like, I'm like, just start organizing the pebbles on the ground, thinking everything's crack. And I had this other girlfriend, and we would do it, and I would go, okay, it's time, because she started doing it with like.
You guys started doing it together,
organizing the crumbs on the ground. That's totally normal when you do that. It's a normal behavior when you're living that life. But
right. Did you ever smoke the seal? What do you call it?
Yeah, no, I didn't. But I sold it to somebody.
Oh,
I sold it.
Yeah. That's right. Right.
And I gave it to people when they wanted some. When they wanted some of my shit. But no, I didn't. I never smoked it that I know of.
Yeah,
Man,
knowingly.
It's tripped me out. You said there's a jungle in Belltown, because I didn't even know. I didn't know about this jungle, but I didn't see. There's all these nooks and crannies in the city that probably I never been to. But there's all the like. Where's the jungle in Belltown?
It was where Sean Kemp would shoot baskets, where the dog park is now on 3rd and Bell.
Oh, they would call that the jungle.
That was the original jungle.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I call that the jungle for life, even though I know there's other jungles now.
Right.
And it was definitely like mellower. Oh yeah, I could tell you a million stories. I remember one time this dude comes by, and I've got friends in the car, but I was on just a bender, and something snapped in my head, and I was like, I gave a dude walk by my car. I was in front of Shorty's in Belltown. Dude walked by my car and asked me for some spare change. I was in a good mood, and I handed him some change. He's like, what the fuck is this? I was like, it must have been like $2 or $3. In my head, because I'm crazy when I drink, and I was like, he's talking shit, and I was like, well, if you want more money, then fucking hook me up with some stones. He's like, okay, I'll get you right around the corner. And we go around the corner, and he hooks me up with the dude, and then I pull out the switchblade, and this is a gangster that would kill me. And then he didn't know. He was like, who's this fucking geeker with a switchblade? Like, what? And I snatched the rocks, and I ran to my car, and I jumped in the car, and I had friends in the car that were like, what in the actual fuck? And I was like, I just jacked a crack dealer, like laughing drunk. And as I'm screeching my tires, there's this lady running next to the car. She's like, I got a pipe. Like, I got the pipe. She knew I needed a pipe.
Like, let's go. We're gonna go
running
together.
by my car.
Yeah.
That was a bit of a wake-up call. Like, how the fuck did I survive that? But, like, I would do shit. Like, I was just a Jekyll and Hyde. Like, and then probably, like, after a couple of days, like, chilled out and was like, I really need to get my shit together. I really need to, like, do something different. And then, like, maybe was sober for, like, 3 days because I knew I was going to get killed. And I don't think I went back to Belltown for 5 years after that.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that fear just drove you out of that fucking place.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, like, because I don't know anything else but Seattle. I've been here my whole life, and it sounds like us too. Like, do you think it's something about Seattle that's like, I don't know, like, do other people in other cities, I know they get loaded in other cities, but I mean, it's like this is like the home of grunge, and like there was like that whole punk scene, and it's like, I don't know, there's something about what the weather and the people here or something that, do you think that contributes to people just like the alcoholism, the drug addiction? Do you think that is it, obviously, but Portland too, like Portland, Northwest type shit, there's just a different vibe when it comes to like getting loaded around here.
Yeah. Portland's as bad as Seattle. It's the same type of thing. Like, I would go down there, and my friends down there were going through the same phases. And one of my friends moved here from Denver in like 2008. He goes, what do you guys do during the because he moved here in the summer, and summers were chill. Like, we would skateboard and party on the weekends and
right. Summertime's fun.
Yeah, but do all kinds of stuff. But it wasn't really a big problem. But he goes, what do you guys do in the winter? And I was like, well, we smoke black. Yeah. He's like, what? And then when the winter hit, I'm smoking the black. And I was like, remember I told you we do this? And he didn't like that. He's like, I'm not into that.
I'm not doing that, yeah.
I really, I missed like a solid decade of snowboarding, because that's what I do now for the last 10 years. I snowboard all winter long to where it's like we didn't even have a winter.
Yeah.
I didn't have one depressing day where it was raining and I was so miserable that I wanted to smoke an opioid. Yeah. And then the summers are so awesome. and way more awesome when you're sober and you get to wake up every day and you get to go about your day and, you know, you don't even, like, it's tank top weather and, but before, summers were about drinking weather.
Yeah.
Oh, it was
And
kicking.
winters were about isolating.
Oh yeah,
I think.
solo,
you know.
dolo, yeah, just getting loaded. So yeah, let's take man. We're gonna get to it now.
Sorry, I went all over the place.
No,
with
that-
all
that was-
kinds of like
that
shit
part-
I probably wouldn't
hold-
normally tell.
Yeah,
That was some dark stuff.
yeah. We have an editor. If you want to edit it, I might have to
I
edit.
didn't tell the ones I wouldn't want anybody to know.
I
But
might
you
have
can
to.
edit.
I might have to edit mine. My story about shitting myself, but it's cool. It's cool. It's part of my story. So take us through the sobriety, man. The moment. Did you have to go to treatment? Did you stop? How did it work? How did you get your sober date?
So by the end, for the last few years, it was just like, this has to stop, this has to stop, this has to stop. I'm gonna
Every
have to
day?
go. Yeah, every day. And then I was like, I have to get to a meeting and I have to go do the whole thing and it has to stop. And like, I was like Googling AA and Googling, I found they showed like Googling AA and it was like swingers AA. I was like, what the hell? I was like, and then rational recovery where it's like, and then there's just so much stuff, and then I would be like, oh, you know, and then I would get loaded and get loaded and get loaded, and then at a certain, it all came to an end when shit was crazy. Like I was just like looking around my scenario where I'm like, I should have never seen anything like that in my life. I had a girlfriend for a couple years who I was like, she was going crazy at how fucking off the rails I'd be all the time, that she thought I was gonna die. I was like, okay, I will watch what I do. You watch this. And I just like found, and I had, was part-time working. We had a skateboard company. I had a skateboard company for like 10 years, and my business partner had a screen print shop, and he'd always let me work for like $10 cash under the table, washing screens or folding t-shirts. And there was one person there. It was actually a trans dude named Lou. And he was like, I go to meetings on Tuesdays. You're welcome to join me. And I was like, I'm ready. And he took me to Scum Also Rises on Tuesday.
On Beacon?
Yeah.
Where-
This is when
was
it was
that
in
at?
Georgetown.
Okay.
And I knew a couple people there from just being in Seattle for 38 years. And like, oh, and I thought those guys would have been sober for a lot longer. Like, yeah, you must be sober for 15 years, because I came in 2007. But they had new dates, just like some people have to get new dates. Yep. And but I knew a few people, and then they were like, here's a meeting to tomorrow, and you can go there. And then I went to that meeting, and then I was dragging my girl with me the whole entire time, and she wasn't really knowing what was going on, because I think she could take it or leave it, even though she was going hard with me.
Right, she was with it, but
Yeah.
she could possibly stop.
Right.
Yeah.
And then I would go to that meeting, and then they'd tell me to go. So this is what it was. Tuesday I went to Scum Also Rises. They said go to Posse on Broadway on Wednesday. Wednesday I went to Posse on Broadway. They said go to Excellent Adventure on Thursday. Thursday I went to Excellent Adventure. Friday I went to Pilgrims. Saturday I went to SYP, Seattle Young People's. Then
Burien?
Nope. SYP is up on 19th and Aloha, I think. And then Sunday by the book, and then Monday DRU Central. And I swear to God, I did that for 9 years. And then, but the thing is, I would go to those meetings, and then by, I think, Excellent Adventure on that Thursday, I asked this dude another dude that I saw, when I said seen two people turn into human chicken smoking crack, a dude that I'd seen turn into human chicken smoking crack that I knew for like 20 years, and he was 2 years sober. I was like, can you sponsor me? You know what I mean? Because you're famous in here.
Yeah.
I thought he was famous because everybody called. I Googled his name. I thought when you come to AA, like I thought there was famous people because they got called on all the time, and I thought there was this big cult.
For real.
And but most people go home at the end of the night, and the person getting called on is probably the person that's doing a lot of AA and has a message of hope to share. You know, and but I was just like, you're the guy. I know, like everybody looks up to you. I need you to sponsor me. So then I instantly just got into the book. And I would go to Agape at noon with Lil Rita, and then I would go to Living in Sobriety at 4 o'clock in Ballard, and then I would go to one of those 7 meetings I listed on Capitol Hill, and then I would shoot out to the Fremont Hall. That's where I got my 90-day coin. And I did that definitely for the first 90 days, and then I kind of stopped going to the Fremont Hall because I realized, like, and the girlfriend at the time definitely didn't like going there. And eventually she stopped going to the meetings with me, and eventually she dumped me, which is fine. It's probably a good thing. But I just was going to meetings. Like, I've made AA my whole entire life. I got addicted to them, and it took a minute before the whole thing started happening. And, like, pretty quick, I was like, I'm going to volunteer. My friends run this organization called Skate Like a Girl. And at that time, it'd been around for a few years, but I was like, I'm going to become Mr. Rogers. I thought the idea of God was just, my grandma's up there watching me. So I'm going to just do everything. And she was like a real preacher or something like that. And I was like, I'm going to volunteer for Skate Like a Girl, and I'm going to just do whatever you're doing, I'm here. And like, I started giving free skateboard lessons on Sundays at the skate parks, driving around with my car full of skateboards and and then just like, I never didn't go without any food. You know what I mean? Somehow I was always taken care of, but I wasn't getting any money. And then just slowly just started showing people that like showing up. And then the AA thing, I was like, I'm gonna run this shit.
Yeah.
But then after like about a year, I'm like, okay, that's pretty much that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Run this shit. We're supposed to be sheep in this shit, and but my life depends on it. So I'm gonna like do everything it takes to just like really be a member of this. And I've been doing it for 12 years, and I don't go to, 3 meetings a day anymore. Sometimes I will. I'd love to, but life got big. Right. Life got real, real big.
And when you say that, like, some of the things that we're trying to like kind of think ahead of is like, what is a day in the life of Marshall? Let's say, 5 years ago versus today. Like, what do these days in the life look like? Because it's one thing to say, I went to these meetings, but there's 24 hours in a day. And so you have this 1 hour, 1 hour and a half, you're hanging. But what did those days look like? If you could take us through maybe one of those days that, you're not making money and you're you're doing this stuff. But like, I mean, I don't know. I want the audience and the people out there that may have never had a day like that to know what it's like.
Well, so what happened is, here's what I believe. I believe that once you do the work and have a spiritual experience, that anything is possible if you set your mind to it. And now we have the tools to do that. So I was like, I kind of invented this idea that we can make a skateboard park, but make it like a skateboard school. And we could teach children how to skateboard all the time, and we can teach everybody how to skateboard all the time.
Even adults.
Just like we can do this. It can be done if somebody would like trust me, and somebody really like gave me the golden ticket to do it. And so it went from meetings, 3 to 4 meetings a day with fellowshipping and just hanging out all day, every day with people in the program, to kind of like get and those people in the program, some of them are still around, most of them aren't, but the ones that kept doing it are still around. And then it got to the point where it was like, okay, obviously we can't do AA all day every day. And man, I gained a lot of weight too. I gained like 40 pounds. So then I decided to I was like, well, this is what I want to do. So I want to like, I saw a homie who was hella jacked, just got out of prison. He was like, you look like this too. And I'm like, oh, okay. And I did. Now I don't, but I went 110 into the gym. Then I went 110 into hobbies. Like skateboarding is awesome and all, but A, it's my job, and B, it hurts really bad. So then I got back into snowboard. Another homie of mine that got sober with me, and he's a pro snowboarder. He said, anything you need. He got me back into snowboarding. Then I tried like bird watching and hiking and yoga and anything. I was like, let's try it. They did a book club. I was like, I'll do anything, because what I've been doing, all I did was get loaded and have a skateboard. and try and do something to impress somebody, whatever it was, even if it was producing an event. It was just like, so now it's just like learn to like, there's so many things I heard somebody say, like, you know, they were like, nobody ever smelled a flower or looked at like the beauty of like some scenery out there, you know, like the landscape, or, you know, like there's just so much out there. But yeah, so today it's a lot different. Today it's like wake up, read a prayer, a lot of prayers, or, you know, try a little meditation on the phone and do the 86 and 87 thing that they always talk about. And then go to work where I get to be impactful in people's lives, and then hit the gym. And then usually I'll go to a meeting, but then during the winter I do a lot of snowboarding. And then during the summer I do a lot of like fly fishing.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I've noticed about you is that you don't really have a problem being by yourself. Is that something that you're able to do?
Yeah, so because I always had a homie. Like always, my whole life, like had the homie or had the girlfriend or had the homie and the girlfriend. Mm-hmm. But we all know what it's like to always have, you know, like, and then when I had about a year sober, I decided I'm going to go celibate and I don't see very many people do this. And I don't even recommend it to people because it's like, this is what I did for 2 years. And I didn't even ask a girl for a coffee date. And all I did was focus on myself to where I could fall in love with myself and be okay with me. Then I can present myself to somebody else and be like, at least I know who I am and I know what I can provide. And I know like, what I know my worth. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yes, I love just being by myself. I love being alone, but I also love sharing experiences with other humans too. So I always vibe when I'm with some people, and I always vibe when I'm all by myself. But going, you know, and then I kind of use the AA nights, going to meetings is kind of like going to the bar. That's my little social part.
Yeah.
You know, but like, yeah, life's good.
Yeah. Now, I was going to ask you too, because like I've been kind of struggling lately, like especially since it was like July 4th and All-Star Weekend, and like there's just like we know some of the same people, and like I still go around some people that are drinking, and it's all good, you know, like not that I judge them at all, but like, and I still like, do you still go around people like, or how do you handle yourself in situations? Because I'm trying to learn how I can live my life where I'm not living under a rock, or I can still go out and to functions and things. I don't know, like, but I'm dabbling whether this is a good thing for me to still participate in those kind of environments.
I really don't participate in those anymore, and I did in the first few years. You got to try everything to find out what you like and what you feel is right. And like, I would rather be here and have them come to me, and then me help them, you know, or like me enjoy them in this world, because I'm not gonna. What's more likely to happen? I think you guys have even said this. Am I more likely to get loaded with them, or are they more likely to get sober
with me?
With me,
Yeah.
Right?
You know, and like I don't know if it's like 15 years working in the bars and clubs, but I just don't want to go to a bar. But if it's necessary to go to, we're free to go anywhere we, you know,
Right.
where we're useful, where we're needed. I don't want to be around people that are drunk, and it makes me like sad to be seeing like I've got lots of friends, and I've got my friends that are non-alcoholic that have a beer, and it's so funny. I realized I went on a 2-day camping trip with a couple buddies, and they just didn't bring beer. They're not alcoholic or non-alcoholic. They're just like, they didn't even cross their mind that they needed beer. You know what I mean? So, and but the people that need the booze, I'm not trying to kick it with them. And I'm in a situation where I'm not even put in those situations. Like, but I was at a skateboard event, you know, the Capitol Hill Block Party.
Yeah.
You know, I'm called upon to be there to help produce the event, and people are getting wasted, and it's just background noise to me. And I get to be grateful and like spiritually fit, and, you know, it doesn't bother me. But I'm not actively seeking drunk people to hang out with for any reason.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if you have like homies that are like still living that lifestyle, do you just like kind of just fuck with them from a distance a little bit?
Yeah, like each other on Facebook. I'm just not going to put myself in those situations because I worked hard to get out of those situations. They can come join me though.
Yeah, I think one of the things that has drawn me to Marshall was his outlook on this exact topic. I've heard him share about this before.
Okay.
Of like, yeah, man, like, you know, I've spent my time kicking it with those cats, and there's nothing against those cats. They got their life, but like, man, I'm not seeking that. And so then if they're real, for me, if they're my true homies, they can come visit me or we'll see each other at the coffee shop or like whatever event events might be. But I will say, like, being at the All-Star game, 3 days in a row, it was like drinking was what was going on. Like, and so the obsession of like the party, baseball, drinking, it was all just packed into this event. And it was interesting because if we weren't spiritually fit and we were going to those environments, you could see. I'm 100% sure that there was someone that relapsed during these events, and it's sad, but it's like, I don't know. I think if we had the All-Star weekend every day for like weeks on end, we would get loaded. Maybe not. I don't know, but it seemed very, very tempting. Put it like that. Like the situation for me though was like the obsession's been lifted, so I can go wherever, and that's cool. But I didn't like it that much, man. Like, it was cool, but it was like I didn't get to know anybody any better. It wasn't like, yeah, man, what's up, bro? Like, tell me tell me about how your family's doing. And it was more like, I remember you would like match chains with people. You'd be like, yo, man, nice chain, bro. And it was like that big chain you had on. And so, did you participate? You, Marshall, being a Seattleite and being in these environments, do you find yourself? See, I guess what we're trying to work through is like with these events or these activities and these people coming into our lives. You must have set some boundaries. You must have what were some things that you've been able to use as tools?
Well, okay, so 4th of July, I went with my sister and went out with them, and they get it on, and my mom's dude is like blacked out, and my sister's homie's drunk, and everybody's loaded. They had a gallon of Fireball when I got there, and they're passing dank weed, and I'm just like, and it got to be 9:30 on the 4th of July, and I said, I'm gonna bounce. And my sister said, oh, well, you can bring Day-Day with you. He can stay the night here. I said, nope, I'm going home. And she was like, I'm not bringing your kid to my house to stay the night, because I just will just say no when it's time to say no. Yeah, that's not gonna happen. I was at something not too long ago, and drunk dude was like, hey, can you give me a ride so I can and I'm like, nope. Honestly, you shouldn't be driving, but you better figure it out, because I'm out. Like, it's 7 o'clock on a Thursday and you're wasted at like something like I just don't make other people's problems my problems out there. Now in AA, I do. It's a problem. I got sponsees that are dying, or their loved ones are dying. I kind of take on a little bit of that weight, but we're working to make a better life. But I just kind of, I'm like, no, like, I'm out. All right, I'll see you. Yeah. Or I do the Houdinis, like I'll check it out, say what's up, bounce.
Right.
Yeah, the Irish goodbye.
Yeah, I'm trying to, I mean, it's dope that you touched on like where you're finding your joy and stuff is like doing those hobbies and stuff that you're talking about. Cause I'm trying to find that, Marshall, because like I came from partying and like being around that and stuff, and it's just like making that transition into like I would love to start fly fishing or doing that kind of stuff, but it's like I still want to have fun in sobriety, and like I don't know, I'm just on my own personal journey of like I'm definitely not like the poster boy for sobriety. Like I go in precarious situations and like I'm just around like stuff that most sober people wouldn't go around and stuff like that. But I don't know, I'm trying to find my way, but this has been really good for me to listen to you and just hear about how you've gone through your journey and finding your different hobbies and stuff like that. So don't know.
How'd you pick up hobbies? Like, how'd you pick up fly fucking? Like, did somebody say, "Hey, look, we're fly fishing"? Like, as a Seattle, like, what drew you to some of these hobbies?
Well, I got really into doing bird photography because I used to be a skateboard photographer.
Okay.
And I still had the photography equipment.
Okay.
And I go through phases in life, and I was like, well, I've got the good equipment. So, and then my old boss, who's a really good friend of mine, he's a fly fisherman. My old boss at the skate park was like, dude, you need to come fly fishing with me because like the eagles come down on you. You
Come
get the
on.
coolest pictures.
Oh wow.
Eagles are the come on, man.
And
That's
so
what I'm
like,
doing
yeah,
all day over here,
I'm
man.
gonna get an eagle tattoo eventually.
Yeah, come on. That's my flying animal. Yeah, totally.
We've gone on eagle missions where we floated rivers and the eagles come out like pigeons and on the Skagit and like did an eagle tour where they explain the lifespan of an eagle. Anyway, like I went with them a couple times and was like, and then I saw a fish and was like, oh my God, I saw a fish. And then he taught me how to catch, so now you get to see the eagles, you get to have the elk and deer and the beavers and the coyotes and the bears, and you get all the action of being out in the wildlife. I just don't bring my camera anymore.
Yeah.
I just switched over to like, and I might not catch a fish, but I'm out there.
You're in the moment.
Yeah. And then 12 hours go by, and you know how people go to sleep to the sound of rivers?
Yeah.
I'm just meditating for hours.
Wow.
Right.
And found that. And then in the snow, when you're up there in the mountain, you're on top of the powder and but I do believe that golfing, and I do believe that exercise, and I do believe that like trail running and cycling, and there's a million, you just got to try it all.
Right.
You know, because when somebody said, what do you do since you don't drink? I'm like, everything.
Right.
Anything I want.
Hell
yeah.
Anything.
Yes.
Like, and all my judgments I had on the people in the past, I'm like, let me try that. Let me get a Patagonia.
Right.
I'll get a Patagonia jacket because I thought those people were whack. You know what I mean? I'll try it. Patagonia's nice
Patagonia,
stuff.
man.
Yeah.
That was
So, you know,
rich people had that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I got a pro account, so I get deals on it.
Oh yeah, that's what's up. Yeah, that's what you get. See, things happen, right? When you touched on that eagle thing, like for me, I grew up in a really low income environment, and we couldn't fly places and we couldn't go places, and so one of the things my mom would do is once a year we would go to the Skagit River, and we would rent a cabin, and I'm a teenager at this point. And she was like, we're going to go eagle watching. Yeah. And I was like, man, like, bro, I got things to do.
That's dope.
But then what would happen is, like, you'd be driving along the river, and there'd be a car pulled over, and the people would be out there with the binoculars. And you would literally pull over with them and be like, just start chatting. And then they'd be like, well, there's 4 over there. And you're like sitting there, and you're like, there's really 4 eagles over there. And so it became this like getting out of the city. See, in Seattle, we have an experience where we can get out of the city so easily, so quickly that before we know it, eagles fly around here all the time. But the point is just that getting exposed to nature has been probably one of the biggest benefits of my sobriety, because what happens was, or for me, was like just getting outside. Like when I would be dope sick, I couldn't get the momentum to like get up and go outside. But once I got enough energy to like get up, it was like, I gotta get up and go walk. I gotta get outside. And so then I would get outside and then go for these walks. And like, little did I know here's an eagle flying, and I'm just like, man, nature. And so the reason why I just told that story is just because, like, for me, nature has been something that has really developed my spirituality. Because, like, before that, I wasn't able to enjoy it. I always had this thought of, like, man, I need to get out of here to go get something. Or even on those activities, I was loaded at the vape pen or the alcohol or whatever it was. And so, but like you said, you can try any and everything. Have you ever tried the float tank?
No, not yet.
Sensory deprivation
it's
tank.
on my list.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's one of those. I get excited over those.
I'm ready to, though.
Yeah, come on, man. Yeah, hey, Marshall. So this was one of my ideas, is a fellowship activity. Is like, so you can rent, let's say Urban Float down in Renton. You can rent the rooms, like, so let's say it's closing, you can rent like 6 or 8 rooms for that last hour. And then like we would all go and we would all experience it, and then we'd come out and then have dinner or something after the activity. It was one of those ideas I thought about as a fellowship.
Sounds trippy.
Yeah. So well, man, is there anything you want to share with the man? What's up? You give us something, those struggling alcoholic addicts, or
One thing I can say is that if you continue to expand your spiritual life, then you're going to be less conflicted about where you're at and what you're doing, and it comes like it comes less. Took me 8 or 9 years to just say like God's going to put you in the right spot. The universe is going to put you in the right spot. Like coincidence is going to land you in a better place if you continue to be open to a larger spiritual life. So in the first few years, you got to try every kind of scenario where you're like, because I went to 3 or 4 baseball games last year and we won one, and I might have noticed somebody had a beer. You know what I mean? Like, but everybody had beer, but I don't even notice that the people have the beer. Yeah. And you know what? The universe doesn't put blacked out people in my face anymore very often at all. You know what I mean? Like I kind of, and I know that I'll still go to shows and concerts and walk through a bar to get a burger. You know what I mean? And like it's not, I'm free, so like, but those first few years, I would go and just kind of check it out and see, because I miss my old friends, and you know what I mean? Like a new fellowship built up around me. And when you repair the wreckage from the past, you get the people that the meaningful relationships back that mattered. I got some of my friends back that really loved me, that like I can spend my spare time with them, and it'll get better and it'll get bigger. And I mean, when I had 2 years, I found myself literally on Juicy J's tour bus at 18 months down in LA, where everybody's rolling blunts, and I'm like, I feel like a kook right now. Like, what the fuck am I doing here?
Yeah.
Like, I don't. That's like 2 years prior, I would have been like getting blunted and getting loaded with Juicy J, and that'd be cool. But I was like, this isn't. I just don't feel right here. So I'm going to choose not to put myself in those situations anymore, but you got to try all the situations, like one of my closest friends, but he's my sponsee, Sean. Like, I love this guy. My sponsees become my friends, but when he was, in his first year or two, he'd like going to his friend's 21st birthday. I was like, go to your friend's 21st birthday. You're free. You've done the steps. And he was like, I was there for about a half an hour and had to bounce. And then maybe the next time a friend's going to have a 21st birthday, just Venmo him a 20 or something. Right. You know what I mean? Like, and now we're older. We don't got any friends having 21st birthdays. And we see people in AA turning 21, and we'll go do some.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
Right.
But like, just life gives me a lot less of those things, those situations that I really don't want to be in, or that I'm conflicted about. Should I be here? Is this a good idea? And I've gone to like, because snowboarders party hard, and I've gone to like snowboard events and just kind of been like not even really noticing the stuff that the negative, and just noticing the positive, like and seeing that like life is good, life's really good, and it continues to get better in different ways. And I think both of you guys are super cool, and I knew, like, that's why I was like, I just like the way Pete talks. You guys both talk like OG Seattleites.
Oh, thanks, Mark.
Yeah. And I was like, yeah, you asked me, like, hell yeah, I would love to. And, like, whether it makes it or not, it's already made it in the fact that I listen to it for every single one of them on my little road trip. Somebody else is too. I love listening to, like, stories about hope, So, like, keep doing this. I know I just went on a tangent, but
we love your tangents. I had to say something before we go, because one of the things that drew me closer to you was your relationship with Curtis Head. And it's okay to name him because he'd love this promotional component. Yeah. But the other day, I was I was with him, and he has this ability to, like, have you ever seen him do the splits?
He does vertical splits too.
Vertical splits. Yeah, this guy's got vertical split ability. And I don't know, man, it's just with him, it's these people that you know that I've known that I don't know, man. It's just a special relationship that I've built with you through other people, because what's caused this is that I've gotten closer with Curtis because you're like, man, Pete, ask him about this. And then when I ask him about the wheels and the this, and he's just like, oh yeah. And then the next thing you know, he's doing splits and having a good time. But I think one of the things that we want to highlight here is how special you are to the Seattle community, man. Sober community, skate community, the community as a whole, and how you've really helped me. And I think Rudy, just know that, like, I'm proud to be sober and proud to be living a life of sobriety and helping other people. And you've been a very pivotal part in, like, showing me and others how to do that. And I don't skate, but I take that energy that you have, and I put it other places to help others. And I think Rudy does the same thing. And one of the most exciting things that I've seen was the advertisement for adult skating. Because, like, for me, that's something that, like, I have never tried before. And, like, I don't know, there's, like you said, who knows what can really happen? And I don't know. You're just a real good teacher, and I would love to participate. What do you think, Rudy? Could we get an adult skating session with Marshall?
Yeah, it's never too late. I don't think.
Okay, all right.
I don't think it's too late.
All right.
But no, I just want to say too, Marshall, man, I appreciate you, and I'm gonna have to tell my dad that we did this. He'll love to hear that. But yeah, man, you're OG Seattle.
Yeah,
so
man, come on.
We just appreciate you.
We were so excited from the get go of this idea. We thought we had you in that list of, like, man, if we could get Marshall on here, that'd make our whole podcast. And so
I'm flattered.
Yeah, man. Well, thank you for your time, and man, Sober Champs is out. Thanks a lot, Marshall.